Hey everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be giving you guys some book recommendations for Halloween. So I had a video go up last week talking about just fall general book recommendations, but like I said in that video, really both of these can be combined to just get a bunch of fall recommendations. So I will have that one linked down below for you guys. However, I had so many books to talk about that I decided to divide it into two videos, and today I'm going to be talking more about books that have actually kind of scared me or made me feel a little bit spooked, which doesn't take much. I am an absolute chicken. I am terrified of everything, so it really doesn't take a lot to scare me. I'm not into super thrillers or horror, but I do have some that definitely are kind of my line for creepy. I should also mention I am of the unpopular opinion that I don't like Halloween. I know so many people love it, but I don't like it. I don't really like Halloween movies or anything. This is my annual Halloween sweater though, because I feel like a pumpkin in it. So I like the cute things about fall and not really Halloween, because I feel like Halloween isn't really cute, but I like the pumpkins, I like those sorts of things, but just Halloween isn't really my thing. So I feel like I'm making myself seem very unqualified to do this video, but I promise that these are some good Halloween book recommendations. So let's just get into it. I should also mention that I will not be recommending Coraline today, because I still like to pretend that it doesn't exist. That book gave me nightmares, and we're moving past that. So that gives you an idea of how easily startled I am. So the first book that I want to talk about is actually a series that is perfect to binge around Halloween time. It might take you a really long time though, because the books are giant, but that is the Diviner series by Libba Bray. So while the books are giant and it is a 4-book series, it is totally worth it. Every minute is just the vibes. It is set in 1920s in New York City, and it's kind of a ghost story, but there's a lot more than that. I feel like it's one that's kind of good to go into not knowing a lot, but you're following a bunch of different characters, lots of different mysteries, and just spooky things. Especially this first book introduces you to the world in such a creepy way. It's definitely one that I couldn't really read at night because I would be totally freaked out, but I fell in love with the characters. Even beyond the spooky storyline, I just loved being with them over the course of 4 books. I loved the setting of New York and the time period as well. It was just, this series, I would love to see it adapted. I think it would be incredible. But yeah, definitely if you're looking for a Halloween read, this is a great place to start. On the other hand, more of a kind of fun Halloween read is, there we go, Dead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson. So this is kind of zombies, but in a fun way. I'm not really a fan of zombie stories, but this one I did actually enjoy because it's kind of this girl group and it's like zombies, but high school cliques and that sort of thing. So it was really interesting in that way. Essentially, you're following a teen Wiccan who ends up bringing back her friends to life, but obviously that's going to be really problematic. They don't remember their murders, but they were murdered. There's a lot of things going on, but it still somehow managed to be kind of a fun read. Next is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. So while I won't be talking about Coraline, I will definitely recommend The Graveyard Book. The Graveyard Book is such a cute and sweet read for this time of year. It's about a boy who he is actually raised by the ghosts in a graveyard. So what more could you really want for Halloween? It is just very pure, but also has there's definitely a story there. And it also has different illustrations throughout, which is really fun. And there's also actually a graphic novel. Now, I didn't really enjoy the graphic novel. Actually, there's 2 volumes, but I didn't really enjoy the graphic novel quite as much as I did the actual book, but this is definitely perfect for the Halloween atmosphere. The audiobook, I listened to that and it was awesome. Next is more of a psychological thriller, and that is The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. This book is I feel like one of the creepiest that I have read. There's certain scenes that really stick out to me, and It's interesting because there's also like this very, at least I haven't read in a long time, but this swoon-worthy romance. So it has a lot of different elements to it. But Mara Dyer wakes up after being in an accident that killed all of her friends, and she has no memory of any of it. So they move away, and like some weird things keep on happening to her. So it's definitely sort of a twisted web that keeps on getting more twisted. I just realized I totally forgot Sadie by Courtney Summers, which is perfect for either Halloween or fall. But this is definitely a book that, like, it came out and people were going wild for it, and I decided to give it a chance. I actually surprisingly really liked it. I wasn't sure if I would, but it's about a girl who goes trying to find the killer of her sister after her sister has been brutally murdered. But you also are following, so if you like true crime, you would probably really like this, but you are following this guy who has a podcast, and he's following all of Sadie's moves, like through the podcast and through her perspective. You get the whole story, and it's really interesting. Next is The Babysitters Coven by Kate Williams. So you might know the Babysitters Club, that very popular book series that now is more popular as graphic novels, but I digress. So in this case, the babysitters, it's actually they're witches. So it's a twist on that, and it's really interesting, a lot of fun, and definitely a very easy read. I actually read this too close together though with another book that I'm going to talk about, so I'd recommend not reading them super close together because now I always get them confused. But the other book is These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. They're both really good books that deal with witches, but they're kind of more of a fun and different take on witches, which is why like I read them maybe back to back, or I had like one book in between, so now I always get them confused. But both of them definitely worth the read. These Witches Don't Burn though is about elemental witches, and the main character is a witch. She has been a witch. It's not like a new thing to her. So it's not like in the Babysitter's Coven where she's learning about it for the first time. This character actually, like, that's the life that she's been in. But while there are elemental witches, so there's elemental witches, but then blood witches end up coming about, and that is not a good thing. So there's kind of a mystery surrounding that. And she's also dealing with some troubles in her love life as her ex-girlfriend. She is trying to avoid her, and there's a new girl. So lots of things happening. You can see it's kind of a mix of like high school drama, but also witches. Next is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is kind of like the inheritance games that I talked about in my fall recommendations video, but it's different because it focuses more on a murder mystery. This is set at a school in Vermont that it's this big school that is like in the middle of nowhere pretty much, and the characters, there's only 10 people who are admitted to the school every year, and the main character ends up being one of those people because she's very into true crime, and specifically there was the murder of the founder's daughter way back in the day, and she's trying to figure out who did it. So it's alternating between then when that murder happened and now when she's at the school, and things are starting to come about that the murderer might still be around. It's definitely really atmospheric, a lot of fun too, and I think I will continue with the series. I wasn't sure if I would, but I do think I want to know what's going to happen. Next is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. I read this book last year and I like really liked it. I wasn't expecting to, but it is a horror retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. So the main character, her sisters keep on dying, and it's like, obviously she's trying to figure out why and what's happening, but it's set at like the seaside manor, and it is so eerie and spooky, and this was definitely one that I couldn't read at nighttime because it was just very unsettling to me. But the writing was fantastic. It was just such a great and inventive retelling. Wasn't what I was expecting at all, but in like the best way possible. So definitely a great one for Halloween. Next is Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. Marisha Pessl is the author of, oh, what's it called? It's like Everyone Used to Have It, and I was going to get it, but realistically I would never read it. Night Film. So that's an adult book, but this is her YA book, and I read this a couple years ago probably now, but it's very hard to describe because it is like, there's a lot happening and you will be confused. There is a murder mystery element to it and a creepy setting, creepy people. It's definitely very creepy and a book that will have you wondering what is going on. Next is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. So Carrie Maniscalco also wrote the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, which is also great for this time of year, but I wanted to mention this one in particular because it came out last year and it is really, really great for like a fun sort of Halloween read, but I mean, it's not fun. Like the main character, her twin sister ends up getting murdered in the beginning, but then there's a romance with a demon prince and like it is quite steamy and it's set in Italy in an unspecified time period, but it's definitely like back in, I don't know, Victorian times. So there's a lot of like death and witchery and all of those things that make it a very fun read. Like I feel like fun isn't the right word still. I just had a really good time. It completely sucked me in and took me to the world, and I think Carrie Maniscalco does a great job of that. So definitely this series or her other series are perfect for this time of year. I don't know why I specifically grabbed the last two books to this series. I think because they're the only two that I haven't read yet, but that was weird. But it's all the way over there and my lights are blocking it, so I don't want to go and grab the first one. But the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series by Ransom Riggs is also really great for around Halloween because it's a story that is built around these like old, very creepy and weird photographs that the author found and then just made a story about them. So it's very inventive, like unlike anything that I've ever read before. And because of the pictures, for some reason the pictures like majorly creep me out. I don't know what it is, but they really do. So I can't really read this one at nighttime either, even though it's like not necessarily the most creepy. It has the vibes. But if you're looking for a very different series, this is definitely one to go for. It has so many different elements to it, some magic to it, and there's also like the enemy is really just gross and creepy. Next is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is another one that I read last year and I had a great time with it. It's also kind of zombies, but not really. I don't know how to describe that. Like there's certain zombies that most of them I am not interested in at all, but in this case it kind of intrigued me because it was like the bones of the corpse, they like reanimate, and then this main character goes and she's protecting the town from them. I can't remember if it's actually bones or maybe that's just how I imagined it, but for some reason that was just less unsettling to me and I liked it more than actual like usually how you would see zombies. But anyways, she has been doing this for a very long time, but then this apprentice map maker ends up passing through town and all of a sudden the bone houses are attacking with greater force. So there's a mystery there. Why are they attacking more? And she's trying to figure it out and still protect her family and the town from them. Next is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. The movie must be coming out soon. I believe it is, but there's a Netflix movie of this and I probably won't watch it because like it's kind of like a play on a slasher film, I guess. Like a sort of scary but like ridiculous sort of movie, I believe. I've never really watched a scary movie in my life because I know myself and I know it would be horrible, so I don't exactly know what they're called, but it definitely gives those vibes. Like there are murders that are happening, there's a lot happening, but it's really great to kind of read an adaptation of one of those sort of silly horror thriller films in a book. Next is Dreamland Burning by Jennifer Latham. So this book is a murder mystery spanning centuries. There is this murder mystery because the family moves into their house and they're doing renovations on it, and then there's actually a skeleton that is discovered. So you're jumping between when they find the skeleton to another character in the 1920s, and this deals with Black Wall Street. So I think it's something really important to be educated on, and I felt like this book did a great job of that. And the final book that I wanted to recommend to you guys today is Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood. Like I said, there are so many other books that I can think of, but I wanted to keep it to like a reasonable list. So this is about witches and it's about sister witches, and it's also historical, and it is the main character trying to protect her sisters from the Brotherhood and protect her sisters as witches and make sure that like she promised her mother as her dying wish. So she's trying to do that, but obviously everything is trying to prevent her from doing so. So those are all of the Halloween books that I wanted to recommend to you guys today. I hope that this list helped you out. Please let me know what kind of Halloween book like you would recommend. Then we can get a super long list going. But if you guys enjoyed bookish videos, I post new videos 3 times a week, so don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. I post new videos 3 times a week, as I already said. I got confused there. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another new video soon. Bye!